Happy birthday, Mim.
Oh God, you really threw me off then. I was like, what the hell? What? Well, okay, first off, guys, it's not my birthday, but this is more like a New Year's Eve, an eve to a birthday. Because this episode is our 52nd episode. So a full year of doing this podcast.
52 weeks of us chatting our drivel. So,
yeah.
Happy birthday to us.
I'm not joining in.
That's all right. That's all right. It's one of the worst songs.
Well, happy birthday.
Yes, it's a hard tune to sing. It's it's not comfortable to listen to if you're on the sleep. Like, it's a tough crowd. That
you got to get the right octave from the beginning,
so
that everyone has a chance to hit the highest notes.
And you've got to hope that the name sort of works with "Happy birthday, dear, still lives upstairs."
Yeah, it's true. Oh well.
But, yeah, it is a celebration episode of 52 weeks, man. 52 weeks. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm, as we say every week, we record on the weekends, and I'm just not feeling Monday tomorrow. I'm just not.
Those Monday blues, man.
I have serious case of Monday blues. And you ever get it when you're like trying to savor every last moment of the time that you have? Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And so I feel accomplished over the weekend, or I feel like after this recording, I'm going to try and, I don't know, cram TV in and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Yeah. What about you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a high, a little family high. So it's like the first time my family were all able to get together since like April.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just always been someone who hasn't been able to make it. So I'm on a bit of a high of just having some great time with my nephews. I'm just like, I just feel it coming. Just feel life coming back.
No.
So I'm relishing that high right now, before the Sunday blues hit me. And also got like a wedding on the horizon. It's like, I just feel it's in our grips, isn't it? It's in our grips.
Life is coming back to you.
It's in my bones. I'm feeling peppy. We'll see how long that lasts. But Monday's just around the corner.
Don't I know it? Yeah.
But anyway, so this week for our fashion story, we're going to do something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to reminisce a little on like our favourite moments from the past year's worth of episodes and that kind of a thing.
Our like best moments or favourite memories.
Like our highlights reel of discussion points or episodes, topics, all of that.
Yeah. So, my question to you. What was your favourite topic to discuss?
It's difficult because I feel like I've forgotten half of the things we talked about.
Okay, good start. Getting off to a really good start here.
But I would say I really enjoyed I think when we still started doing like the brand episodes, that's sort of when we both started really like researching for like our episodes more, and I just sort of really enjoyed that element of us like learning along the way. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed our YouTube episode. I think that's like something we're both really into. So this like, and also like I love regaling, like, I know what's just come back to me.
What?
The Spice Girls.
What?
The Spice Girls.
Oh my god, the story time.
Like, I love regaling the story times. Like, we would keep doing them if we had more, but yeah. And so yeah, I think stuff like that just
Yeah, it's like this whole
How about you?
this whole podcast really was started as a way to share stories about our
Our
experiences.
gripes.
Yeah, the good and the bad and the bad again. We definitely love to do more story times, but sometimes you forget a lot of the experiences that you went through or the occasions that you had funny stories to tell. But yeah, we should definitely do more story times in the beginning, or moving forward, I should say.
Yeah. And because like we still have stories, but they might not be like a full episode's worth. But like there are just definitely like little tales that we can tell for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are just so much fun. How about you? What topics have you liked?
So one I really enjoyed. Okay, so I really liked when we've spoken about, like, we've taken a topic and a theme and we've really delved into it. As you said, we started to do a lot more research when it came to the brand episodes. But when we took things like the resale market and we were talking about our opinions on that, and discussing like what does value mean for luxury fashion and things. And I think another topic which was really pivotal for us was about fast fashion and like the impact. I think that there was so much to talk about. It was the first time we'd really got into depth besides a story time or a brand episode. And also I felt like we had a lot of feedback from other people, either we knew or people who'd listened to the podcast, who were interested in knowing more about the financial implications, the economic implications, the environmental, like everything that is linked to not just fast fashion, because we did that one episode, but also luxury fashion when we did that secondary part later on. I think it's definitely those episodes were, I feel like, our finest work. That was another one I really enjoyed, actually. I can't remember what anniversary we were celebrating. But it's when we did the quiz.
Oh my god.
Did I win?
You did win. That's why you're enjoying the
No, honestly, it was actually quite fun.
It was fun.
And we were like counting the points. Oh god. Yeah, that was actually quite fun. I would do another one, but like a longer one. Maybe in a year's time. That's what we'll do for our second anniversary. But, that was a good episode.
One of the highlights for me as well has been the guest episodes. I think that, you know what, like that really pushed us out of our comfort zone.
Definitely.
You know, like that was super nerve-wracking for us. Like, I don't know, we're just two people who talk a bit of nonsense. So to like have people on, it just felt way more real.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
You know, I just feel like I'm talking to you. I don't feel like, you know, and then when you're involving somebody else, it becomes way more of a thing. I think they worked really well. I think I'd really struggled to find like a favorite.
We got really lucky, didn't we?
We got so lucky. Like Brian was amazing. Cassie was great. That gave us some huge like traction. I love talking to Sam. That was so interesting. Like her cause for the environment, all of that stuff. Natalie was amazing. And I like Fernand's passion for videography and all of that stuff. I just think they brought so much. I just think it was super cool, man.
And they made it easier on us, I think. Also, as you said, we know each other, so we talk to each other as if we know each other, because, you know, we do.
We do.
But then to have like a third person in the mix, it can be nerve-wracking because you don't know the person, you don't know how they're going to vibe with you or be in on it with you and be enjoying it as well, which is really important. I think people mistake podcasting as something that's quite easy, and I don't know about you, but I think I've learned a ton over this year, which was arguably the toughest year of my life.
Yeah.
from the outside, I think in many cases people think, oh, I'm just sitting down talking about stuff. But you really have to think about the topics, the structure, the conversation, the flow, the diction, the pronunciation, all that kind of stuff, and make it genuinely interesting, not only just for you as the presenter, the podcaster, I don't know, but for people who listen to you, because we're essentially strangers to anyone and everyone who bothers to download our podcast episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was such a big learning curve, and I feel like we learn something new every week or every other week about, okay, let's do something different, or let's not do that, or let's try this or whatever. Yeah,
definitely. And if there's a is there an episode that you wish that we could redo?
Oh, okay. For those, it's not it's like a genre of kind of episode that we used to do that we no longer do. For those who's listened to our podcast episodes from the very beginning, you'll know that we used to recap fashion shows.
Oh, yeah.
And on an audio only platform, that is very tricky to try and pull off. And we tried to do it in a number of different ways. We were keen to do those episodes because that's essentially where our passion and our love and our interest for fashion comes from. So recapping runways and collections and things was something we wanted to do, but it just doesn't really translate that well on a podcast unless you have an accompanying like YouTube video or something that goes with it. So it's not something that I wish we'd redo. It's just something that it didn't go as well as we thought it would when we did do it, and now we've left it behind. Good riddance.
Good riddance. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and the difficult thing is, like you said, like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about fashion, and that's actually conversations we would have with one another as well. But yeah, it's just very hard to make it no amount of descriptive, like, you know, wording and all this sort of like picture making with, you know, descriptive whatever is gonna build what it is.
Yeah.
And like, even like, you know, putting pictures on Instagram like this, it's not the same. Yeah, I agree.
But in the spirit of always trying to revamp ourselves and do something different and see what sticks, we announced last week, we actually made up on the spot that we were going to start recapping Love Island looks. So that's what we're doing this week. We don't have a segment name for this, so please message us. Please suggest a segment name. This week I'll call it lockdown Love Island fashion. Did you say? You suggested something, and yeah. So
it's the Love Island recap, guys. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not like the recap, but like the fashion
or lack thereof.
Yeah.
It's our island fashion alert. Our island fashion alert.
Yeah, so there you go. You said it already. So like, I can't really pinpoint good fashion moments, I should say. I will say Shannon's only evening look, I think. Not the, maybe was it what, I think it was what she went out wearing. The sort of like, it was like very like sarong, like, it was like a V thing. Like, it was like a skirt with like a V sort of cut shape on the waist.
I think
very
it had like
sarong-esque. Yeah. And then sort of like a matching top, very printed, beauty, like her beauty.
Yeah,
I mean, rest in peace, Shannon. But she looked sensational in that. But I also wonder if that was sort of the body doing the talking.
So let's talk about that. Actually, it's a really good point, because we say, between us, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who think the same, there's not really great fashion on Love Island.
No.
Despite it being sponsored by these big fast fashion brands, and they're trying to push fashion, and Love Island is all about how you look.
Yeah.
It's not a show that really comes or brings the looks. It doesn't. It's quite basic.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of fashion that has to do with like the past couple years is about the body. It's not about the cut or the clothes, the fit, the whatever, the design. It's like, let me wear something slinky that's going to show off my body.
For sure.
And I think that Love Island does that a lot. I mean, okay, they wear bikinis and like swim shorts all day. But I think that's a sign of the times.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And there's definitely times where, like, if I'm feeling less confident, like, fashion doesn't always lend itself to that. Like you said, like, a lot of fashion trends are just about showing off your figure. And if you're not feeling super confident about your figure at times, like, it's very hard. And yeah, like slinky dresses. And even if it's not a slinky dress and you're showing part of your midriff, there's a cutout, there's whatever, you're wearing like sheer trousers. Like, it's sort of this vibe of, you know, just showing off your body essentially.
Yeah.
Someone who's showing off their body a little too much is Faye. We understand you've paid for breasts.
She leads with the boobs, yeah.
But I don't need to see them from every direction. We've seen obviously cleavage, we've seen underboob, we've seen the middle now, and I don't need to see it. Like, I get them out because you've had them done. Like, don't hide them away, but we see them in your swimsuit.
Yeah, I think what we've seen with her actually is she knows that's her asset, and I'm pretty sure that kind of crisscross halter neck bikini top that she wears, she's worn in 2 different colors. Have you noticed that? She had a blue one and she had a white one.
It just shows like so much underboob.
A lot of underboob.
I've got natural boobs, mate. Those would be falling out.
Well, it's not for you then.
It's not a cute look.
That look is not for you, Scarlett. Very like Fashion Nova. So
if I was Celeste Barber, I'd try and recreate that.
I was watching this like YouTube video last night, and it was about there was a bit on it about Fashion Nova, and it was, this person was scrolling through the website and how everyone has like their bodies done, like BBLs and things.
Oh my God.
And you can't, it's like the perfect website for those who have had cosmetic surgeries on their bodies. And it's literally like Love Island Faye kind of gives me that vibe. Like, you could not wear this stuff if you hadn't, you know, had your boobs done or, you know, had a BBL or something like that. So yeah, really, it's a tough look to pull.
Yeah, and I you know what? I do think makeup connects with fashion. She needs to ditch her lip combo tonight.
Yep, I agree. I think she looks so much better without the makeup. I think in
she's obviously like she's over injected her lips, like regardless. But if that's what she wants to do, fine. But do not paint them with like, it's like a grey brown.
I agree. So who do you think is best dressed?
This is really tough. Because I would say Kaz is very much using her body. Like she's just like, she's got a great figure, so she's using her body. I would say that Sharon doesn't, she really irritates me. I think Sharon's like body is curvier and she doesn't dress it great.
Well, you know what? I think different. I think that Sharon is actually my best dressed. And
really? She's
the reason
more fashion, I guess.
I think she's more fashion, and I think because she doesn't lead with her body, and this comes from just my personal appreciation for certain types of fashion. I think, listen, I love a skin tight dress. I love all of that. It's not me being prudish, but I think someone who can dress in different shapes and dress in different ways is really like stepping outside of like what's easy. She wears different things and different types of dresses that no one else really does. She wore this red
Yeah, the red dress was
and it had
unique.
this draping around the neck. You can find that sort of dress in a number of places, but no one's really covering up their neck on Love Island and like wearing a longer sleeve. And I thought, I think she really thinks about how she's dressing and how she's looking. She's my best dress. And also in that video, you know, like I think it's called like a VT or whatever.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or they enter the villa. She had some really great earrings. They were like big gold chunky. I think they had like moons on them. I love a moon earring. I thought, this woman's going places.
And I think we mentioned it last week. We really don't see much accessorizing when it comes to Love Island. And I would love to see that. Because let's be honest, you're all going to wear these, like, they all sort of seem to like share bikinis. They all get sent the same batch of bikinis by boohoo.com or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's those neon green ones and all the rest of it. Faye's obviously got every colour they do of the crisscross. But I would love to see like some really fun sunglasses or like, you know, even just earrings, a bit of like a necklace or whatever. Because like, you're not on a regular holiday. If I go on holiday, do I accessorize? No, because I'm out there to get a good suntan.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're in the sun for 8 weeks and you're meant to be delivering looks. You're not sort of there just as like lounge about getting the best tan of your life. For sure accessorize it with some earrings. If you're wearing makeup outside, you for sure can wear some earrings and all the rest of it. Or like, you know, do a great hairstyle, get some like French plaits going, or like, I don't know, I think something a bit different and a bit cooler.
It's lacking variety. That's how I would describe it. It's lacking variety on a whole.
I can't really pinpoint a best dressed, if I'm honest. It's all been much of a muchness so far.
I will say, and I know you feel the same way too. Okay. So we're recording on Sunday, guys. So by the time you listen to this, we'll be a couple days ahead. But the new girl, can't remember her name. She walked into the villa Friday night and her walk looked like a T-Rex. She was stomping down that promenade to get to the front door of the villa, and the walk was so off. It was terrible. And it just, like, reading comments online and just from my own personal experience, especially when it comes to open toe shoes, if you're wearing a shoe that's too big for you, or it's like, you know, when the bottom of the sole of your foot gets maybe like sweaty and then it's like gliding along the base of the shoe and you're just like slipping all over the place, that was like a fashion faux pas, you know, if there is everyone.
Oh, for sure. And also, you know what, if I'm walking into Love Island, okay, my footwear might not have to be the footwear I want it to be, because I need to walk. You know, like, you're not standing looking pretty, or you're not like, they're not a dinner shoe where you just walk from like the car to the dinner table. You are walking, you are stomping, you are strutting into Love Island. You do not want to walk like that. Maybe that's her walk. We've not seen her in flats. We don't know.
I actually do think that she stood a little bit funny. So I don't know. I'll report back next week.
And like, apologies if we've learned that, you know, she's got an issue. But those weren't the shoes for her. Or like, babe, if you can't walk in high heels, then don't wear them.
Oh, that's, you know what? That's a good point, because I think it's easy to just assume that all women know how to walk in heels, especially when you come onto something as glamorous air quotes, as Love Island. It's like everyone wears these strappy heels and you just expect everyone to be that girl, you know. And maybe she can't walk in heels. She should have worn a closed toe espadrille, even if it's like a little wedge. But that's not the sexiest. That's not the
it's not the long leg vibe she was going for.
Not for
I don't
me.
know. But you know who did look great? First episode, Laura Whitmore.
Yes.
They were bespoke, I think, Tilly Lux or Tilly Thomas Lux.
Oh, okay.
My type on paper, hair things. She had like a heart ring on. Her nails had hearts on. She had like first of all, she's only just had a baby and she looked fantastic.
Really?
But her shoes, like, she just really looked like every accessory, she just looked cool, man.
Yeah. And
I know my favourite fashion moment.
Okay.
Toby's cohort first episode when he walked in. Was it Toby? I think it was. He had like a printed shirt that was open and matching printed shorts, and I love a cohort. I thought it was good. Yeah.
I need to go back and see that again because I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't even think I was clocking for the boys, to be honest. Interesting. But yeah, back to Whitmore. She did have the best look of the first week. I agree. My type on paper was excellent. Chef's kiss. I thought that is how you do Love Island look. She looks like she's on holiday. She looks like she's going to a beach club. She looks like done up, looking great, not basic. I appreciated her look.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
We interrupt this broadcast to remind you, go follow us on Instagram, Style Over Substance Pod. Shoot us an email, styleoversubstancepeak@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube, find us on Twitter. We've got all the links on our Instagram. You know what to do.
This week, we thought we would touch on a segment that we want to do a bit later on down the line. But it's something that I think, again, just getting to know us a bit more, we wanted to talk about our favourite eras of fashion and just why that is. And maybe we'll delve into them deeper at a later point, who knows? But yeah, our favourite eras. And also, well, obviously, I guess our poll today will naturally be, what's your favourite era of fashion?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also a nice way to close off our first era of podcasting. Talking about, you see what I did there?
Love it. Yeah.
Let's talk about our favourite decades. So yeah, go ahead. What is yours?
I mean,
break it down.
I think mine's pretty obvious at this point. Mine's the 1920s.
Yeah.
For me, that's a decade that if someone was like, where would you go back to? That's where I would go back to. Flapper era, the Roaring 20s. I would love to experience that. And mainly fashion-wise, not like post-war wise. But I also like, if we break it down, to me, I kind of felt like really like weirdly emotional about it earlier. It was a little bit of the start of feminism. You know, women had to contribute in the war, and we then like came into an era where we got rid of the corset.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Like Coco Chanel introduced trousers for women. And it's just like this thing of like, I feel like that was the beginning of just like women having their moment. And it just made me feel super like empowered and just excited. And, you know, it's just loose fitting dresses, women cutting their hair shorter, experimenting with makeup. That was so different from what we had seen in the sort of like 1900s, 1910s, like Victorian-esque high collars, like all of that stuff. And yeah, I love it. And of course, it's sort of like the origin of Coco, my beloved. And yeah, I just really feel like it was a moment for women. The makeup, I think, is really fun. And yeah, who doesn't want to wear a flapper dress?
So I know that you've dressed up. You've dressed up a couple times, haven't you? For like fancy dress in 1920. Yeah, you do. In 1920s.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I'm telling you now, if I have it my way, my second dress, like my dance dress at my wedding, will be like a beaded flapper dress. For sure.
That's a good one, actually. Okay, so let's go to the flapper dress, because that's like the most iconic look of that era. And it, as you've described, really symbolizes that doing away of previous conventions for women that was like tight and big and fluffy. So flapper dresses, they had like, what was iconic about them is they tended to be sleeveless, correct me if I'm wrong, and then they had this dropped hem. So whereas in the Victorian era, you would have a very like high-waisted or like an empire, or before that, like Edwardian, you would have like an empire line from which the skirt would kind of come out from. But a flapper dress was very straight up and down, loose. When we say loose, one thing about flapper dresses that I don't think I would enjoy wearing is like it's loose around the waist bit, but then on the hip bit, it's a little bit tighter.
Yeah, it's got like a dropped waist almost, yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of made it easier for people to be dancing in and kind of have that flapper referring to like the types of dances they used to do. But also like how the skirt used to flap out as they were kicking, and it could be like embellished as well. It was still fancy,
like beaded, fringed.
It was definitely like a party dress. That's what it was.
Yeah, but they also almost like the day-to-day dress was just like it in velvet or like silk, and you could wear it with tights and like the boucle hat and like all of that kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very like, it was a really pivotal moment. And also even just like for women as entertainers, I don't know the history of that. I'm sure women have always been entertainers, let's be honest, ladies of the nights and stuff. But
I'm sure there were female singers, opera singers.
No, but I'm more mean dancing as entertainment. Okay. I feel like, as far as I'm aware, that's the first I've sort of heard of like women being like dancer entertainers. Like it happens in the 30s, like the Dita Von Teese-esque thing that probably happened in the 40s and all of that kind of a thing. But I can't imagine like Victorian performers. I'm sure there might have been, but I feel like you can really see the little jazz hands and that dancing that you see in films. Think Great Gatsby. Like I feel like that was sort of the first time that
I think women could be a bit more loose in that era compared to previously, and dance on the dance floor, and it's doing them dances is not easy.
High energy,
hard work, high energy, and the fashion reflected that. However, it was also a period after the First World War and like the Spanish flu and all of that. It was a time of a newfound exuberance. I'm
really hoping we have our roaring 20s after this, man.
God, yeah. What a time to be alive. But yeah, anything else about the 20s fashion that you really liked? Because you touched on cutting hair, like having short, quite masculine-esque or what was seen to be a more masculine hairstyle as well.
Yeah, and actually when you say that as well, like heel height was shorter. Like I would describe the heel height as like a tap shoe height.
Yeah.
That like it wasn't, I don't know what it was before, but like I just feel like they got shorter, that women almost wore like brogues with maybe a little platform or a little heel, but like also probably just flat brogues. And I just think it was very androgynous at times, like very, I don't know, it totally flipped the, like, imagine our fashion right now just flipping on its head. Like before you wore a high neck dress, long sleeves, cinched in waist, you barely show any flesh. And then suddenly the next decade, you're cutting all your hair off. Before then it was long hair. It was normally always in a bun or like long and curly, and you pin curled it before bed. Yeah. And it just becomes a thing where you chop it all off. And like you are way more daring. And I just think like, I don't know. I think it's when fashion like begun almost.
I get what you mean. Yeah, that's an important point, I think, because obviously every kind of, let's say, era has brought with it a new type of fashion, or a new culture has brought with it a new type of fashion. But fashion trends, let's say, was very slow. You know, people would wear the same thing that their parents would wear. There was no like distinction between dressing like a teenager or a child or dressing like an adult before that.
Such a good point.
You were 10 years old and you were wearing the mini version of what your mum was wearing before that, essentially. And people that's like, when we refer to the Victorian era before, so like the late 1800s, people were wearing that for decades.
Yeah.
In a very similar form. Maybe the colors would change, but for the most part, people were wearing the same thing for many years because of also poverty and whatnot. But you're right. You come into the 20s and it was a big shake up, as you said. And then from then on, you can clearly define eras during the 20th century and how trends became a thing and how like teenage fashion became a thing, or youth culture in a way. It like, I think from that period on is where you have a direct correlation of like fashion reflecting the wider society in which people lived, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I just love it. But enough about me. What was your favorite decade era of fashion?
So mine, if you know me, you know that this is not a surprise. My favorite era is the 1950s. Yes. And it's kind of interesting because the reasons why I like 1950s fashion is kind of the opposite to why you like the 1920s. But then also, I know that if I lived in the 1950s myself, I wouldn't want to wear all of this stuff.
Oh, but it's that thing of like, I'd love it for like a week, you know, or I'd love to experience it for a second. But but the 50s is almost like, so I guess it started in the 1940s. It's like another post-war movement where I guess almost like they wanted to go back and get really dressed up again. You know?
So it's like, I think when I talk about the 1950s fashion, I 100% know that it's like rose-colored glasses. I'm romanticizing it and whatnot. But it really is when we usher in, or how we at least remember this period of fashion, when we usher in glamour.
Yeah.
And
red lipstick.
Yeah. And
I know they wore red lipstick in the 30s, 40s, but 50s it hit different.
Yeah, yeah. It was like high maintenance, in short. It really was high maintenance. And women, what women could wear, and also men, but say if you were a woman or you were not the most conforming male, or someone who identified as male, then you really didn't have many options. It was all about like presentability, and I think that's something we don't have in fashion anymore. Like if your suit wasn't ironed to perfection, and if your skirt wasn't pleated to perfection, or your shirt wasn't like washed, you know, really well, then it was the belief that you wouldn't be taken seriously, or you weren't respectable, or, you know, you really had to be like looking A1. Your jewelry all had to match. Your jacket had to match with your trousers or your skirt. Everything was like a code, a set going on. And it was hard work at a time that maybe, you know, people didn't really have like appliances where you could just throw clothes in the washing machine. you know, it was still a really manual time. But as you said, being like post like war, after the war in the 40s, the 1950s, a lot of it, and the reason why you have so much of that glamour was like fabrics became cheaper, things were more like industrialized and made in larger quantities. People still made like, they made their clothes out of like pattern cut, you know, that you could buy.
They would buy their pattern,
and then you would buy your fabric, and you'd make that iteration in different prints or different fabrics. You'd have a tweed version for the winter, and you'd have like a floral lighter version for the summer, and you might like rework it in a silk so it's like an evening dress or something. People were like, you know, they were doing a whole lot for fashion back then. But for me, it's like it has to be Hollywood glamour. I love the whole like glitzy diamonds, the hair in like roller sets, the like incredibly cinched in waists,
and the body was different. And I think this is something we will have to touch on, like the differing like figures that are desirable or something like that. But like in the 50s, it was that teeny tiny waist, but then you had big hips to go with it, and it was like, and you had like these sort of like, they were still very like maybe cone-esque shaped bras, and like the shape and the silhouette was so feminine and like bodacious and just lent itself to the dresses that came from it. Oh my God, it was, and then like with this beautiful like done up hairdos, it was just,
And for those who don't know a lot about or really care about 1950s fashion, I think what is really cool is if you look especially at like the black and white photography, you look at these images and you think, oh my God, they didn't have Photoshop back then. Like people and the lights. Yeah.
There was no Facetune.
There was no Facetune, no like BBLs or like or anything like that. And the photography, you were like, wow, that's like stunning. And then also you can't forget, you had Christian Dior, you had like Cristobal Balenciaga, you had all these massive names who are still like famous today that came out of that era. Yeah, I love it. So high maintenance. I don't think I could keep up. Like wearing the stockings, the suspenders, the bra. Okay, the bras. I say that like I don't wear bras now, but it was a different time.
They probably did not have the stretch they've got now.
Oh God, yeah, exactly. Like doing your hair every night, making sure everything was ironed, having a matching set, having your gloves, having your hat.
And the flick. That was like the start of like that real flick as well.
Yeah.
The cat eye.
Yeah. I love it.
Big time.
I love all of it.
It's a big time. Love it.
So, what is this week's poll again?
I think it should for sure be what era are people, what are people's favorite fashion eras? And also, guys, like it's been a year. Happy birthday to us. But tell us what you want from us next. What do you enjoy? What do you not enjoy? Like give us some feedback. Like we're happy, you know, to take it on. And as much as we want to enjoy what we're doing, we also want you guys to enjoy it too. So definitely tell us if you've got any ideas for us.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I've got nothing else to add. Thanks again, guys, for listening to us, and also congrats to us for making it this far.
Hey, what a pleasure to chat to you every week, Mim.
Yeah, same, likewise. Thanks for pulling me through.
Hey.
So yeah, we'll be back again for another episode next week. We'll be back with Fashion Story. We'll be back with Love Island with a new name. Not for the podcast.
Help us, please.
We need a poll for that segment.
Yes.
As well. And another topic. So have a good week, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.